What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. About 45 minutes ago, we learned from Antonio Brown himself he is going to the Raiders. This puts a cap on the Steelers' offseason, which really has been hectic. I mean, let's be honest. Le'Veon Bell set the trend for this to happen. He basically called the Steelers' bluff and then realized that he wasn't maybe as valuable as he thought he would be, and if nothing else, put all players on that team on notice that they will not pay you what you believe you're worth, and you have to go out and seek that for yourself, even if that meant sitting an entire season. And I think a lot of times we lose the concept of what these players are doing. They are in business for themselves. This is Antonio Brown Incorporated. It is Le'Veon Bell Incorporated, and they have to work with their best interest in mind. Essentially, every play they have could be the last play of their career, and they have to treat themselves as such and protect their future as best they can. Now, sometimes as fans, I think we let emotion get in the way of that. More so when you have players in the NFL, like Peyton Manning, for example, that will go kind of against that grain and actually take pay cuts or restructure their contract to help keep players on board and help bring other players in to make the team better. And I'm not saying that one way or the other is the best approach. I'm just saying when you have a player that goes out of their way to make sure they're getting taken care of the best they can, the media often portrays that as a very negative thing, when in reality it's nothing more than you going into your own place of employment and demanding that you get paid what you believe you're worth. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic, because in professional sports, it's much more disruptive when a player does that, maybe than when you do that, but it's still given that same aspect of what the person is doing. So with that said, I wanted to translate this over to sim football, and specifically Madden, because, you know, the Raiders kind of still follow the grace of Al Davis, rest his soul, in what they do in trying to bring in the biggest names, the most profile players, and essentially Antonio Brown is going to replace Amari Cooper, who was traded to the Cowboys, who had really fallen off, but kind of had a resurgence just a little bit. He was hit or miss at times, but that was his whole career. But I think Antonio Brown is going to do well with Derek Carr, and I think Derek Carr needs Antonio Brown, but you really don't have this in Madden. I cannot think, now that this has all played out, a time where there was a team that constantly went after big free agents with a reason, trying to fill a void. Even if it didn't work, they always could be dependent on the team that was going out and trying to make these grandioso moves. And I think that's a really big part of what makes the NFL interesting, not just during the season, but in the offseason, is you're wondering, where are these players going to go? Who is trying to get these players? What is going to be the morale of this team with this player on it, given what's happened? And it's such a dominant topic in today's news cycle, yet in Madden, it's a non-existent point of gameplay. It's a sim past the offseason with 3 clicks. And when we talk about all the areas this game struggles, I think the offseason is one of the biggest ones, because we miss so much of this immersion in what the game has to bring. So I kind of wanted to tie those two together, because I know if you're a football fan, there's no doubt that you've heard about Antonio Brown and what's been going on with the multiple teams he's been involved in the past few days. But I also wanted to make it a point that we try to look at what Madden does in Connected Franchise and try to do everything we can to make it the best game possible. And I think a big part of that is bringing this offseason immersion into the game. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking out. I will be back very shortly with more commentary.